Hope everybody's having a great day so far. This morning I'm getting ready for this weekend's market garden, or farmer's market, and harvesting some Swiss chard. We've got more than we can eat out of the kitchen garden, so I'm going to take some from here for that as well. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about how we harvest it. I just go through and I pull off the larger leaves off of the plants. This is rainbow Swiss chard. So what we do is we just pull the larger leaves off of here. If I find any that aren't that are heavily insect damaged for some reason, or just don't look good, we'll pull those off and feed them to the chickens, like that, and like this. So I'll get a nice handful of these, and there are, in this rainbow chard, there are yellow, red, and green, and we're often asked, a lot of people aren't very familiar with Swiss chard, and asked how to cook it. So you can cook rainbow Swiss chard quite a few different ways, but one of the best ways that I enjoy it is to take 3 or 4 leaves for 2 of us, my wife and I, and kind of roll it up and chop it up, including the stems. The stems are very nutritious, and we'll chop that up and add it to our scrambled eggs in the morning. Another thing that we often do is cook it similar to spinach and sort of saute it. You can do it with, you can saute it with some bacon, you can saute it with some onions, use it in salads. You can chop up the greens and use them in your salad. So you can do this in your home garden, or you can of course get it from us. But one of the things I do, whether I'm doing it for us or the market garden, is I get a nice handful like this, take a rubber band off my wrist, and twist the rubber band around it, like so, and that'll keep a good handful of it for enough for a couple of folks, and we'll just band it together. The other thing I do is I keep a bucket of fresh water next to me when I'm harvesting. It's not too hot today, but this really helps when it's hot. Keep the bucket of water next to you and put it right down in that water, which does 2 things. Keeps it from wilting, keeps it fresher, and helps get some of the soil and get any insects and things off of it that might be there. So that's kind of a first wash, and again, in the heat it'll keep it from wilting. So I'm just going to harvest some more of these, get another bunch together, and you can see it grows really well here in these raised beds. You can buy the seeds for this. We direct seed this Swiss chard from, we buy ours at either, you can get it at Baker Creek or Park Seed or Johnny's Seeds. Quite a few different seed companies carry it. I like the rainbow Swiss chard. It just adds a little bit more color, and I believe the color has different vitamins and things in it that are good for us. So adding the variety and the color to what we grow. Some of these leaves almost look like beet greens, but it is part of the Swiss chard. I'm not sure if they're in the same family or not, but they're pretty colorful. Again, you get a nice handful, whether you're doing it for yourself or a market. And just a nice way to kind of bundle them up in usable portions And you can do more, you can do less, whatever you might need for you, or your family. And then just again put it in the water, and we'll keep going. While this lettuce may look really nice, it's got a lot of beautiful foliage and leaves and stuff here, this lettuce has gotten too hot and has become bitter. So while it may look good, what we'll usually do before we pull one up or before we try to package it to harvest is taste it. Just pull some of it off and taste it for ourselves and see what we think. This lettuce I just tasted and is quite bitter. So we're going to pull this up and feed this to our chickens. And we have more planted here, a new one, and then some more behind me in a couple of other beds that has just been planted. So the other thing we'll be doing today is putting the shade cloth over this for those hot days to prolong our ability to continue harvesting salad greens and lettuce here. So we'll get these pulled up and fed to the chickens, and we'll clean this up and get it replanted with something else. But yeah, so you can see some of the new lettuce that's coming up there, but by the flavor or taste of this, unfortunately, it's time for it to go to the chickens, and we'll get started again. Put the shade cloth on here. The important thing is to keep the soil temperature down. That's what really tends to make these things bolt or become bitter, is the soil temperature gets too warm. But by keeping the soil wet, and we've got some misters and soakers that help to keep the soil temp down, but then by putting the shade cloth over this, that'll also prolong it. So we'll get that done next. So if you've seen any of our other videos, you'll also know that we raise worms, both to get the worm castings and to raise the worms to add to our garden beds. We buy, usually once a year or so, we'll buy a batch of worms from the Texas Worm Ranch. Hopefully you can see that. You can look them up online. The Texas Worm Ranch is where we order those from. But we just have these two tubs here on our back porch, and we keep it covered with paper. But when I rake the paper back, you can see, hopefully, there are thousands and thousands of earthworms in here. So one of the things that we do with the scraps and things out of the garden is we put some of the lettuce or whatever type of material that we've gleaned out of the garden from cleaning up beds or that sort of thing. We'll put that in these worm bins to feed them, and keep the paper over the top of the worms to help keep them cool and help keep the moisture in. In the wintertime, we keep these in the garage where it's a little bit warmer, but in the spring and summer we can put them here on the back porch, and they do very well. So we'll do another video soon on how we harvest the worm castings out of these, but for right now, I'm just going to feed these worms, make them happy, and whatever's left out of that bucket I will take to the biopod next. So this is the biopod, and we put, again, it's sort of a composter of sorts, and what we do is we can add scrap meat, vegetable matter scraps, fruit. If you have a chicken that dies or something like that, you can put just about anything in here. What this is designed to do is attract the black soldier fly. They recommend that this be under a tree canopy like we are here. And the black soldier flies are not like a trash fly, like a house fly or something like that, but they're a beneficial bug, and they'll actually, the scent or the pheromones that they put off will drive away other flies. Inside this biopod, the material I just put in is down here. There are these ramps, and the grubs or the little larva, pupa, from the black soldier fly will crawl up that ramp and then fall into this basin. So we'll take those and use those as a protein feed for our chickens. If you have reptiles and things like that you raise, they'll enjoy those as well. because it's out here in the wind, we keep this lid on here and these bungee cords to help everything stay in place. The other thing is, let's see if I can show you, down here we have the liquid that comes out of the biopod, and we've got this old water container. So as the liquid comes out of the biopod, it drains into this, which is an extremely strong fertilizer and really, really good for your plants. So what we'll do there is we'll dilute that. We'll dilute this liquid 20-to-1 so that we can use that to fertilize garden plants or house plants or whatever needs it. So like I was saying, it is time for us to get the shade cloth put over some of these vegetables like the lettuces and things to prolong their growing season. I've just taken, do this every year, just some, this is 1/2-inch PVC, and it's not the Schedule 40, I can't remember, it's the next one down. It's a little bit more flexible. We've had this for several years now and it works really well. And I just spaced it out. Now, these sections I believe are 8 feet, and the beds are 4 feet wide. So you can make it at whatever height and size or shape that you need to, but I just bend the PVC into the bed. And to hold each of these to this ridge, the ridge is important because it gives it some stability, helps hold the cloth itself better. You could use zip ties, you could even put a screw through it, any number of ways you can attach this. But what we normally do is you could use duct tape, the handyman's secret weapon, or in this case, because this is what I have today, I'm just using some electrical tape. Now some of these have been on there for a couple of years. This one on the end here happened to have come off, so I'm just going to add that on there and give it a few good wraps. And there we have it. Check the other ones here and make sure they're still holding together pretty well, in good shape. These are all right. I think those will continue to hold. So we'll just, this one on the end, I'm going to put a little bit more on just to keep it together. And then for the shade cloth itself, you can buy all kinds of shade cloth materials either at a big box store, you can find shade cloth online, any number of places to get it. They're also in different fabrics, different thicknesses. This is actually made for like patio covers and that sort of thing. And what we normally do is just take whatever shade cloth we want to use and we'll put it over the PVC. And these are just, the PVC is just pushed into the soil in these raised beds. Same thing will work out in your market garden or in your field on a smaller scale, also called a tunnel. Sometimes they're high tunnel, low tunnel, just depends on how big they are. But as you can see, we can put that on there and it just hangs on that. Now, our sun is out of the south today, over this way, and in the afternoon it'll set over there. So I tend to put a little bit more so it'll hang off the end to keep them shaded from the late afternoon heat. I like it longer on that side because it's the south and the north side gets less sun. So I tend to make it so that I've got it shading more from the south side. And then to hold it in place, again, you could use any number of things, but we just use these little clips once you have it in position, and we just clamp them on there. And now this lettuce and whatever else we put in this bed will be able to tolerate the heat and continue to give us our crops for a much longer period. And it's easy as that. So hope you find that helpful, and if you have any ideas or suggestions of your own for how to shade and get longer extension out of your heat sensitive crops, we'd love to hear it. One more tip for today. This plant right here, this is lemon balm. I'll pull a piece of this off and show you. This is lemon balm. Has a very, very, very nice lemony smell. But when I'm working out in the garden, I don't like to use a lot of pesticides and chemicals. In fact, we don't use any. But what I'll do if I'm having trouble with gnats or mosquitoes or anything like that that's bothering me, I'll pull off a big handful of this and I'll just rub this lemony scent on me, around my ears. Pull off a piece of that. Sometimes I'll stick it in my pocket and use it again later. But this lemon scent apparently does a really good job of keeping the insects from biting and harassing you. So if you don't have some of this in your garden, it's quite prolific. We have to keep it trimmed back. It grows very easily here in North Texas, but I'm sure it will grow in a lot of other places as well. I highly recommend growing some lemon balm. People also use this for teas, but for us, our primary use for this is when I'm out here, I'll tear off a piece of this and rub it on my arms and face and hands and whatever, just to keep the insects off of me. So hope you'll get some lemon balm in your garden. It's just a great plant to have there for natural insect repellent while you're working in the gardens.